As I was just mentioning, our theme over the next few weeks is going to be the sixth center, which is the chakra at the forehead. And it's the place where the thoughts that we think can really start to take shape and become much clearer. We have the expression, I think, in English of crystallizing our thoughts. And the more clearly we can think our thoughts, the more clearly we can then guide and shape the actions that we do. And if we can guide and shape our actions clearly, then we can guide and shape our lives clearly. But this center, it really needs quite a lot of training, because we're so often inundated with other thoughts. We're all the time, really. If we stop and watch our own thinking, it's quite an interesting exercise to do. We can notice how constantly there are thoughts coming in, all sorts of different thoughts. There is constant movement in our minds of different thoughts, different feelings. And the sixth chakra doesn't mean forcing those thoughts to go quiet. It simply means that we take another thought, a chosen thought that is completely free from those other thoughts. And by just quietly staying with that thought, the other thoughts will eventually quieten down. And the thought that we're choosing to think gains more power, it gains more intensity, it gains more clarity. And with that, it gains the power to really guide our actions and our lives. So when we talk about the sixth center, we talk about a very calm, free observing of our own body, particularly in yoga, and then shaping the movements out of the thought that we're thinking. So we're going to do various movements today with this idea that we're going to become very calm and very free in the head, not to thinking intellectually. It's a different kind of thinking from intellectually. It's not forcing ourselves to think, but it's just a very free, overseeing, guiding kind of thinking. We're going to do that with various positions, and as a more physical theme, we're going to have the theme very much of centering the body in different places, particularly in the spine in a lot of them, but also in other regions. Centering, drawing all our activity to a center under a very clear, free guidance of a clear thought. And I'll tell you the thought for each position that we do. So would you like to come into a standing position to start with? We'll start with the scales, and we're going to do the scales today focusing on the second chakra, which is the one here at the sacrum. And we're going to start with the idea that in order to really get a centering at that chakra, so we center all our strength, we focus our strength inwards at that chakra, we can step well down with that base leg and lift up out of that leg that we're standing on, and then we can push back into the other leg. Let's start just with that position. You can step down, drawing upwards through the vertical leg and pushing back into the back leg, and return again. And then the other side, a good step down, drawing up through that vertical leg, gathering at the sacrum and pushing back into the back leg, and return again. Let's do it once again. A good step down, lifting up, pushing the leg back. Keep the breath free, just the collarbones nice and open. Nice, free, light breath. Return again. And the other side, a good step down, and lifting up, the other leg comes back, tightening at the sacrum, and just once again find that natural free openness in your collarbones, in your neck, and in your head. And return again. Just take your feet together, firmly on the ground, and just roll down and hang forwards. Let's be aware in this hanging position that the head is really free and relaxed. The neck, the face, the shoulders and arms,
And the breath also very light and free. And then come freely back up to the standing position. Press your feet into the ground, draw your legs together, tighten at the sacrum, centering at the sacrum, and let the upper body just remain free and high above the legs. Take the hands down. Let's come into a next step of the scales. We're going to still remain more in the vertical line, but we're going to take the arms above the head this time. We're going to once again have a good firm step with the legs, the other leg back. We're going to take the arms up, but just keeping them very light. Make sure that your collarbones stay free again, and your head is free, so that you can feel a good tightening activity in your legs, but a light openness in the upper body with the free head. Return again. And the other side, a good step. Growing up through one leg, back through the other leg, tightening at the sacrum. The arms coming up lightly and freely, the chest opening, the head really free, as if you're overseeing your body from your head. The forehead is the seat of the sixth center, where we can calmly look down upon our body. Come back down again. Once again, feet firmly on the ground, roll down and hang forwards. And just once again, really relax the head. When the head is relaxed, very often we feel our breathing is more relaxed as well. Then come freely and lightly up. Keep the head really free, the neck relaxed, the forehead relaxed. And you can just observe, you can guide your body into a gathering together of the legs, a centering in of the legs, the tightening of the sacrum, but still keeping that head really free, as if you're just observing as your body lengthens upwards. And take the hands down. So we're going to come into the actual scales now. Just have a little look. We're going to do it particularly in this way, that we keep the head free so that we can have this very calm, overseeing guidance, while the thought that we think is that the legs move one leg down, the other leg out with a real firmness. So there's a great contrast between the head and the legs. I'm just going to demonstrate. We're going to take one foot down. When the arms come up, they're very light and free. I'm just demonstrating first. Collarbones just light and open. And then I'm going to push actively back with the legs, really streaming back with the legs. And keeping that upper body more light. Okay, so would you like to step firmly forward with one foot? Come right up high. Just keep the head really free, the arms quite free. And now come into the position. And you can keep the upper body more free and light, and you can push quite actively back with the leg. Head just observes in a calm, free way. Return again. Take your foot down. Just grow up a little bit higher. The head remains calm and overseeing. Take the hands down. So the thought that we want to think is that the legs push really clearly in the two directions, while the head remains relaxed. Just try and stay with that thought. Take a foot forward. Come right the way up. The head is free and calm and overseeing. And you push actively back into your leg. streaming outwards, firm legs. And then return again clearly, stay with it, and take the foot firmly down. Right the way up, streaming up higher. Take the hands down and grow forward, roll forwards. And then come back up once again, taking the arms up above the head. And take the hands down. So we'll come to a second position. We're going to come to the standing head to knee position. We'll come into it in a more simple way first. We'll come into the standing head to knee and then up into the standing half moon. So take your feet and your legs together. Take the arms up. And come right the way forward, streaming out into the standing head to knee position. From streaming out, gliding out forwards through the spine, looking ahead at your hands and your fingertips. And then relax and come gently back up once again, taking the arms up above the head. Growing up through the spine a little bit more, a good length, gliding right up through the spine, and take the hands down. So when we're talking about this center, this chakra, this energy center at the forehead, one of the important things connected with it is a letting go in order to find space to think a clear thought. If we're really working hard and doing the movement, it's difficult to really focus that thought. We need to stop. We need to allow a little pause, a little space where we can really think that thought calmly and clearly. And then we can come into the position. So just have a look. How we're going to do this now is coming into this standing head to knee position. Then we're going to just hang down and have a little pause where we become really calm. And we're going to think about the next movement, which is the movement up into the standing half moon. That movement is going to have a very centered growing along the spine. And when we've thought that, we can come up and then we can really activate that centered growing where we grow longer and longer through the spine. So, feet and legs together. Take the arms up. Come forwards and glide right the way outwards quite actively through the spine, bringing a good length through your body, through your arms and hands. Then relax down and just become still. Be aware of your head. It's really free. Your neck is free. Completely relaxed your head. And now in this little pause, you can think about the next movement when you come up, how you're going to create a really centered growth right up through the spine, continuing into the arms. When you have that mental picture, come gliding right the way up. Take the arms up above the head. And now continue to act out the picture that you've already thought of. The spine grows long. Centered, a centered growth right up through the spine, continuing up through the arms. Breath flowing. And take the hands down. So calm, relaxed overseeing can help a more focused centering to happen. Let's put this same principle into practice the other way around now. Just have a look. First of all, we're going to do the thinking bit with the body upright, and we're going to picture how we're going to come into the standing head to knee position with this really centered growth along the spine. I'm picturing it first. Then when I come down, I can act out that movement, keeping that picture in my mind, that I really have a centered growth coming forwards. Then we can do the same thing. We can relax and picture the movement to come up. And then we can come into that movement we've pictured of the centered growth upwards. Okay, so take your feet together, legs together. You can even squeeze your knees together and your thighs. And take the arms up just lightly. Keep the head really relaxed, the forehead relaxed, and just picture the movement to come into the forward bend where your spine is going to stream outwards in a centered way. Then come all the way down and literally lengthen right out through the spine, growing longer and longer. Hands gliding forwards, looking ahead where your hands are as well. So you find a centered growth outwards through the spine. Then just relax down again, have another little pause and picture the movement upwards. And when you're ready, come right up once again, that centered growth upwards through the spine, lengthening up, continuing up through the upper spine, up through the arms, good centered growing. And take the hands down by your sides. We'll come to a next exercise. We'll come to the fish. And the fish is another position where we can think of a centering along the spine. So when we do the fish, it's quite good if we can really bring the arms and the shoulders as close together as possible. So when you're in the starting position, you should be lying on top of your arms. Don't have them facing outwards like that from your body, but to get that centering, you want to squeeze your shoulder blades and your arms together and lie right on top of your hands, so that when you come up, you can think of really drawing the shoulders together and making the body very, very narrow. And then the head drops back. So we'll do it with that thought, a centered thought. So when you're ready, then take your hands right underneath your body. Arms should be straight, shoulder blades drawn closely together, legs and thighs drawn closely together. Picture, before you start, that centering along the spine. We'll start once again with a calm, clear picturing of that centering. When you're ready, then guide the movement right up into that narrow position. The spine centers inwards as it lifts up. Drop the head back and drop it gently down onto the floor. And then come back down again. Just be aware of your breath. Now a gentle openness and freedom in your breathing. Okay, just come back up to a sitting position. So we'll just refine our thought for the fish a little bit more. We've got a centering all along the axis of the spine, and we could imagine that the outside of the body, the edge, the periphery, becomes more relaxed, more free. The central axis tightens, the outside just softens and opens. We can add that to our picture. Particularly when you come into the fish, you can have a lift right from your breastbone upwards, whereas the head drops more back relaxed. So everything that is more outside relaxes. I'll just demonstrate again. You can see, if I don't know how much you can see on your screens, but this idea that the center really tightens and the center, the breastbone lifts. So, do you like to have a second go at the fish? The center becomes tightened, the periphery becomes softer and opened. Take your arms under your body once again, drawing your shoulder blades towards each other, straighten out your legs. Let your breath flow. And then when you're ready, you can come right the way up, centering inwards, lifting the breastbone right the way up, and then drop the head gently backwards and lower the top of the head onto the floor. And just stay with this thought. The central axis of your body is tightened. The breastbone lifts up. The head and the whole periphery of your body softens and relaxes. With a calm head, you can just observe this arrangement. And come back down and relax again. The next one we'll come to is another one centering along the spine. This is similar, another backward bend, but more active this time. This is the inclined plane. So again, with this one, rather than just sort of weighing down, it makes it a bit easier. The higher you come, the easier it becomes. What we're going to do is think again of this real centered activity along the spine. That's our thought. And we'll just have a little pause once again before we start. The head is free. I'm picturing this very active centered spine, and I'm going to demonstrate, and hopefully you'll be able to see that the spine is going to grow a little bit to push the chest upwards. Hopefully that was visible, that as I was holding the position, I was thinking of centering the spine more to really lift that chest up, and the head drops back even more and becomes more relaxed. So if you like to just come into this starting position, have your head high and free, and just again, the forehead is the place where we create our mental pictures. Just picture that activity of really centering along the spine, clear mental picture. When you're ready, you can come right up with your hips and then just drop the head back. And then you can carry on picturing centering the spine even more so that you lift up your rib cage, you lift up your chest, you let the head drop back even more, centering along the spine, relaxing, let the head drop right back. It's much easier if you just let go completely with the head. And then you can come back again. Full free movement of breath. Well done. Those were very good inclined planes. Let's come into the head to knee position now. You can come into an upright sitting position like this. And in this starting position, we know that we need good firm legs, good firm seat on the ground or on a cushion or block if you prefer, or a folded blanket. And let's once again have this real high overseeing head. Let's just become aware of this. Normally we do the head to knee position from the solar plexus as our main chakra, and that certainly needs to be involved in terms of the physical activity. But I want to place the emphasis today on the fact that the head has this free overseeing, picturing aspect. The picture that we can create is that the body is going to lengthen from this solar plexus outwards. But here is the place where we have the picture at the forehead. We're picturing the growth out of the solar plexus. So from your head, you make that picture. The head is calm and overseeing. Let's take the arms up to create even more length, but stay with the picture in front of your forehead, that you're growing upwards out of the solar plexus through the upper spine and through the arms. That is the picture that you make. That's vertical line that streams up. The head remains calmly picturing. Come back down again. Okay, so we're going to come then forwards into a streaming movement outwards. We'll stay with that same idea. The body is becoming quite active. It's making this diagonal line. The streaming out comes from here, from the third center, streaming right through the upper spine, through the arms. Head remaining free. Just calmly observing. Come back up once again. Let's come into the initial position. We grow upwards. Head observing, making that picture, staying with the thought. Coming back down. So we'll come into the head to knee position a little bit more actively with the body, but still just keeping this very calm thought. When we have the calm thought, one thing that we can experience is that the breath becomes very light and very free. So although in the way that we normally do the head to knee position, when we're really giving it as much exertion as we possibly can, we might find that our breath speeds up and we become very hot, etc. Today we're going to do it slightly differently. We're going to keep the head in that very calm overseeing position and notice how the breath remains very free. I'll just demonstrate the position so that you have a clear picture. What we're going to specifically picture is the lengthening from the solar plexus forwards. Just watch so that you know what to picture. From the middle of the back, we're creating a length forwards. It streams and lengthens forwards from the center of the back, continues forwards through the arms. And eventually we can take the hands down. Doesn't matter whether they come there or there or there, but the main thing is that we're picturing the length through the upper spine. The head remains free to picture. When we stay with that picture, we carry on holding the picture right through to the end. At the end, we can still grow, because another really important discipline is to learn to keep that picture for long enough until the whole position has been completed. So come into the upright sitting position. Make sure that your head is high and free. Be aware of your forehead, and also be aware in this starting position that your breath is also very free. Take your arms up, come into the diagonal, keeping that freedom in your head, freedom in your forehead, freedom in your breath. And just continue picturing how the body grows. From the middle of the back, it grows out through the upper back, through the arms. Stay with that picture and continue to let the body grow forwards. The breath is free, the thought remains clear. Eventually you can take your hands down. Free breath. Stay with the thought that your body is lengthening forwards from the third center through the upper spine. And then we're going to keep the thought as we come back out of the position again, that the whole upper spine is lengthening from the third center outwards. Come up, taking the arms right up above the head. Keep that head really free so you're still picturing that same thought. The upper spine lengthens, The dynamic continues through the spine, hands, fingertips, and eventually take the hands down. So I'm going to do a similar movement. You can bend your left leg into your thigh and just have your right leg straight along the ground. So we're going to do a similar position, just coming into the diagonal. And what the picture that we have in this movement is a picture of two lines. This, in fact, let me show you this way on this side, then you can see more clearly. We have one horizontal line, and the other line is a diagonal line. So two lines, that line and that line. And that is the picture that we're going to think. So it's a picture that has no particular benefit for any other reason at all. And that's one thing that is a very good training, because normally we always like benefit can I get from this or that. This particular thing has no benefit in its own right. Two lines, a horizontal line and a diagonal line. The purpose of it is simply to think that thought for the sake of staying with a thought. Staying with a thought that has no gain attached to it, but it's just about staying with a thought. So let's come into that position. Be aware of that horizontal line with your straightened leg. Take your body into an angle. It doesn't matter how steep the angle is, but the line should be as straight as possible. And just stay with that picture. We're actually going to hold this position for a little while. So it can be quite strenuous, but stay with that picture in your mind. Two lines, a horizontal line and a diagonal line angled to it. Stay thinking that picture in front of the forehead. The breath is free. The forehead is free. Think the picture of the two lines. Then return again up to a sitting position. Right the way up, high. And take the hands down. Other side. So make sure your leg forms a good straight line along the ground. Straighten up your back. Take the arms up. And once again, let's picture those two lines. One line is horizontal. The other line comes into the diagonal. Once again, the head, and particularly the forehead, are free. We have that thought in front of the forehead, the two lines. We just stay with the thought. Breath is flowing freely. Body makes the form. The thought is clear. The thought is the guiding instance. And come back once again. And take the hands down. And just pause for a moment. So when we do this exercise, sometimes we can have a sense of how it actually brings a little bit more calmness to it, just because we've thought that thought. We've spent time with that thought. So we'll come into the head to knee with the twist. So out of the two lines that we're making comes a twist. So we start with the thought. I'll demonstrate this. We start with the thought, first of all, of the two lines. We can get that really, really clear. And then, actually, what we'll do, we won't do the twist quite yet. We'll take one hand down onto the ground. What we'll do is we'll take one hand behind the back. If you're able to, you can even take your hand onto your thigh, or you can just take it round by your waist. This does bring us into a little bit of a twist, actually. So what happens now is that we feel much more open. We feel open and freer in our collarbones and in our head. Okay, so straighten out your right leg. Bend your left leg and take your left hand behind your back. Take the right hand up. And always keeping that head very free and clear. Let's come into this position with the two diagonal lines again to start with. One, or the horizontal line rather than the diagonal line. Stay with that position, that thought clearly in front of your forehead. And now you can open your body a little bit more and take the hand down to your foot or down to the floor. And you can open the body outward. You can open out the collarbone. You can open out the head. Let's still think of that line of your leg down on the ground and that free openness of the collarbone. Come back up once again. Take the hand down. Change your legs around. So this time you can take your right hand behind the back. You can even take the hand onto the thigh if you're able to. Other hand forward. And let's first of all come into this position with the diagonal lines and just pause there so that once again you can have that clear picture of the diagonal lines in front of your forehead. And now out of those two diagonal lines comes the twist. And open out the front of your body. Open out your chest and your collarbones and your face. The leg remains on the ground. And come back up once again. Taking the hand down. So let's do this one once again with a more specific mental picture. The picture that we can think to ourselves once we twist is that we have on the leg forming this good line along the ground, and we have this collarbone area opening out, very free and very open, opening to the space. Okay, so that is our picture. On the one hand, a line, on the other hand, an opening. Let's do the position once again. So you can take your left hand behind your back, right leg straightened on the ground. Arm comes outwards, head really free. One picture is that the leg is firmly on the ground. Come out into the position, opening your collarbone. You can turn your head to look upwards. Let's keep the head really free so that you can think that mental picture. Free breath. The leg forms a horizontal line along the ground. The collarbone opens in a free, wide movement up to the space above. And then straighten up, come back up once again. And let's change over to the other side. Take the right hand behind your back. Take the left arm out. First of all, we can picture the left leg forming that line along the ground. The head remains really free as you grow outwards. Now twist, taking the hand down, and we add to our picture this other element that the collarbones open outwards. They open out and up. The leg forms a horizontal line on the ground. The collarbones open out and up. We stay with that thought. And straighten up and come back up once again. And take the hands out. Come to another position, the tiptoe pose. And come up like this. Good uprightness. And let's then, keeping that head really, really free and light, we're going to take the arms up above the head in a graceful flowing line upwards. So with our mental picture, we can just picture that graceful lengthening up through the spine. Once again, we can come back to our thought of centering as the spine grows in a gentle way. It's as if we feel it really forming more of a center. Stay with that picture. Your spine is the center. Okay, come back down again. Just come down onto your knees and just relax. So would you like to just have another look at this exercise before we do it again? The form of this position is really important. If the form is sloppy, then it's not matching up to our picture and it brings a disorder. We can't so clearly come to a really calm concentration. The picture that we want to think is of a centered form. So maybe I'll show you diagonally. Maybe that's the best angle. I do it this way. So a centered form. So you can see the legs are close together. They're not sloppy. And when we come up with the back should be really upright. And when we take the arms up, again, they're not sloppy, they're not too far apart, but the more I picture with my head this centered form, the spine lengthens, the whole central axis of the spine, and the arms, they grow up into a straightness, fingertips come together. So when I say a centered form, I mean particularly all the way along the spine and right up through the arms. Let's do the exercise once again. Come onto your toes. In the starting position, make sure that your head is held really high and free. And already before you even begin, take that picture of that centered spine and arms in front of your forehead. Take the arms up. Center form. Right up through the arms, straighten up the arms, right up to the fingertips. Head stays free. Take the hands down and then come out of the position. Good. And let's come up to a standing position, something a little bit more active. Let's finish off with a couple of triangles. So once again, we can have quite an active movement with the body, but we can keep a very clear head so that we've got some overview over what we're doing. So let's do for the normal triangle, let's do some preparatory positions that can really conjure up a feeling of this free space that exists around the head. The triangle is a position where we move outwards to a great extent into a wide open sphere. So let's start with a few arm movements to really imagine that we've got the head very free inside a wide open sphere. Let's take one arm up through a big circular free open space and the other arm. Imagine there's a great free circle of space all around the head. And back down. Let's do this a few times so that with these movements we can really conjure up a very vivid sensation of that space that surrounds the head. And we can even come from a bending movement of the arms so that we create very free-flowing movements. Stay with that mental picture. The mental picture is that the head sits surrounded by space. Another movement that we can do is to take the arms up into this openness. Stay with that picture. The head is surrounded by space. And then you can bend the elbows and just touch your fingertips together so that you literally are forming a kind of a polygon around your head. You're forming a shape with several sides, with your head in the middle of it. Stay with that thought. The head is surrounded by this shape formed by your arms and shoulders. Then open out the arms again. And in a very free movement, take the hands down. Just relax for a moment. Stay in this standing position, aware of your head. The head is high up above the body and it's surrounded by open space. So now let's come into the triangle. To do the triangle, we know that we've got firm legs on the ground, making a triangular base. We're also going to be very active from our solar plexus, but we want to keep that spaciousness around the head. Once again, take the arms out in this very free, wide open movement. Glide them up, high up into the space above, and then take your right arm out into that angle. Be aware of how that big L shape that you make with your two arms creates an opening, and your head exists in that opening. Now you can reach far out sideways, but keep the head free in that open space. We're picturing the open space around the head. Come back again. Take the arms up, the other arm out. So once again, we've made a great big L, and we can picture how that big L creates an opening, and the head exists in that opening. And then come right the way over, keeping that free head come back again. We'll stay with the same picture. Change the arms, make that big L. The head is free. Just be aware of your breath for a moment before you come into the position. The breath is free. The head is surrounded by space. Then come right out. Good active stretch from the middle of the body, but the head remains in wide open free space. The breath remains free as well. Back up again. Change the arms around, form that big L. And come right down to the other side. Full free breath, the head in that open space. Let's do it one more time on each side to change the arms around. Be aware of the open space, and we're just going to add to our picture that that body from our solar plexus is going to stretch a little bit more so that the head is propelled out into even more open space. Now come into the position once again. You're stretching out your body and the head is propelled into even more open space. The breath is free. Come back again. Change the arms around. Come right the way down to the other side. The solar plexus streams outwards. The head is in free open space. Come back again. Take the arms up and take the hands down. Head is high and free. Let's roll down and hang forwards. The legs are stable, form a good stable triangle. And just in this hanging position, again, be aware of your head. The head is free. And the breath is free. And then come swinging right the way back up, high into that open position with a free head, and take the hands down by your sides. Let's just finish off in a sitting position. Sit in any comfortable position where you can have an upright spine. Just become aware of your contact with the ground. And then become aware of your upright spine. You can picture that spine. We've talked a lot about the centered growth of the spine. Picture how your spine is a central axis and it's growing upwards. And then finally, sitting on top of your spine, you can picture your head sitting high and free, surrounded by space. If the head has the feeling of being surrounded by space, then our breath also will be free. And now you can also picture your forehead. And just in front of your forehead, you can picture that there is a region where very clear mental pictures can take shape. Just imagine that in front of your forehead, there is a space where whatever you choose to think or picture can acquire a really clear form. That's the meaning of the sixth chakra. So let's finish our session there.